said, follow my daughter, I can't get it until the 10th.
Didn't forget it this time.
Isn't that is it green to go?
Or red to report. Okay, I'll start the regular meeting of the City Council for September 1st, 2021 to order. How about Bill, lead us in a pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you want to do that? Oh, no picture.
I'll just look over with Diane. She has her budget.
Can you get a little closer? Sneak in there.
It's in the front seat. With the new update.
Mayor mishandles budgets.
Okay, first item on the agenda is minutes.
Move to approve the
Second.
public hearing minutes for August 18th and the regular meeting minutes for August 18th.
Second.
It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
What's the question?
Question's been called for to approve the August 18, 2021 public hearing minutes and the August 18, 2021 regular meeting minutes of the City Council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take it as unanimous. Sure. Okay, next one is petitions, communications. They just have put in there an email, there's really no vote on this, but they decided, since they said that Delta variant is getting out of control, Helena got all nervous and decided they're gonna not have in person, so they're making the leagues of cities and town meeting online. So I'm gonna cancel mine. All the motel rooms have been canceled. And I'm gonna cancel mine. Anybody else that wants to, they're gonna charge $100 to attend it online.
You can cancel mine too.
I already talked to Jamie.
Okay? Anybody else is
Ready to cancel mine, can you turn that for mine?
And mine.
We have one.
You can sign me up.
I didn't get your motel room, but I think we put you in.
Bar online?
Yes, well,
Yeah.
as a going in person, but, so we'll cancel you too. Mary Jo,
I'll attend online.
okay? And John?
When do I gotta know by?
Oh, by the end of
I think it's the end of this
September, I
month.
think.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a day or two then.
I'll be out there too.
September 25th.
I'm not a great computer watcher, but.
That's a Saturday.
Okay, and I got one other petition communication that's not in the packet, but it was, because this came in after the packet was done. The clerk and recorder, election administrator, has told me that one person is filed for the Ward 4 two-year term. And since he's the only person, is George Johnston. So, since he's the only one that has filed for that position, he gets one vote, he gets it. So I'm assuming he'll get it, because I'm assuming he'll vote for himself. Or Mary Jo will vote for him. So, other than that, I think the rest of them are contested except for the mayor. And the way I understand the rules, that as long as he gets one vote, Mr. McGinley is mayor. Not now, either I gotta resign or die, or you gotta wait until I'm out of office.
Everybody make sure they write his name in, because he's not gonna vote for himself.
Campaign not to vote for me.
Okay, so, any questions on it? Mayor's report. First item is a presentation by Kevin Johnson of Dillon. This has to do with our river crossing water line project. Kevin, please. Is that on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, hear me okay? All right, very good. I'm Kevin Johnson with Dowell. I'm your project manager for the water system improvement project. So, excuse me, I'm just here tonight just to get you caught up a little bit, and I'll try to be here about once a month during construction to just give you a construction progress, try to keep you up to speed with the adventure of a water system improvement project in the middle of your town here. So, just to back up a little bit, getting to where they started construction here July 26th, notice of award was May 11th. We had a little delay there trying to get the project awarded, waiting for Department of Environmental Quality to tidy up some of the business that had kind of slipped by them and administrative stuff, but it required a 30-day public advertisement once they got part of their environmental assessment done. We had to wait for that to be done and then issue the notice of award. And that date was really critical because what we had baked into the construction bidding documents was an escalation allowance on pipe. At the time of bidding, we were starting to see some pretty rampant volatility in pipe prices at the time. That was largely driven by the disaster in Texas when they froze out and the resin manufacturing plants were shut down. At the time of bidding, it was really just pipe that was the issue, and prices were really good the day you asked for the quote. Typically, you can get your notice of award and a few more weeks after bid opening to get under contract, and the contractor's prices are generally still good. That was not the environment we were playing in. So in order to spread the risk, for no other way of putting it gently, not asking the contractor to carry 100% of it and trying to get someone to show up on bid day, we included this escalation allowance. So that allowed, as soon as the notice of award was signed and delivered to them, the duration of the escalation stopped. So it was from bid day to notice of award. They requoted their materials on the notice of award date, and that was the eligible escalation they were allowed. So you have a contract change order on your agenda tonight, and that's what that is for. So it hasn't applied to any other materials. Since then, pretty much the availability of about everything under the sun related to construction has been difficult. They have been able to procure, as far as we think, everything they think they need, short of some minor parts and pieces that we expect to be delivered in time. We've had to make a few adjustments just in some parts and pieces that we couldn't get, but there's more than one way to build a pipeline, so we found other ways to substitute some materials and get everything they need. So they've been under contract since June 16th. They were not able to start. They could have started that day. That was the hope, the day we signed the contract, but they just couldn't get materials. They were able to arrange all their pipe, but then we had problems getting all the ductile iron pipe fittings and materials to the project. So they were not able to get enough materials to get started until July 26th. We basically lost, June and most of July for getting started. Original schedule was June, July, August, September, October, November. They have a 180-day calendar day contract. So they'll be able to work until November-ish. And they'll basically will need to shut down to preserve their contract time to finish the work out on the streets. So I'll get into a little bit more on that here as we go through. Project is divided into 3 work areas. They're called schedules. Schedule 1 is the water transmission main across the river, all the way to the fairgrounds here. That work was originally planned to be in October, November. So there's nothing been done there. They have the materials. They may start fusing some of the high-density polyethylene pipe in the next couple of weeks. But nothing else has happened there, basically because it's flood irrigated and you can't even walk out there until about now or later in a normal year. So irrigation is stopped, I understand, right now. So they'll be able to get out there in the next few weeks and start mobilizing and preparing for that work. So they've got basically 2 months to get in and get out of that water transmission main project and get out of those fields, because there's a pretty limited window of opportunity in the spring to work out there at all. In past years, it might not be till May before the irrigation was turned on. This year at the pre-bid meeting, mid-April, there was already water running because it was so dry. So there may not be any window really at all, next spring. So they really need to get out of those fields over this fall and early winter, just to be out of the way, because there's not much opportunity to do it next year. There's 3 horizontal jack and bores where they got to build a bore pit, bore underneath the river and the highway associated with that schedule. One of those is expected to start here end of September to get underneath the interstate. So nothing's really started on Schedule 1. Schedule 2 is the controlled chaos you see happening in your residential neighborhoods here with the water distribution replacements. They actually started on the complete opposite end of the project. Just because of the delay, we didn't want to have all of Idaho here torn up and have an issue and not get it paved. So started at the other end of the project. The first thing they will do next spring is start right here in Helena, Idaho, where the entire street surface comes off of these 3 blocks of Idaho. All the concrete comes out, replace the water main, and then rebuild the entire street, curb and gutter. So we didn't want to spend probably too much time this summer messing with that. So allowed them to start on the other end. The hope is they'll get all the way to Helena on Washington and maybe all the way to Glendale on Idaho with all the distribution system improvements. So they wouldn't have, the predominant work next spring then would be Idaho Street. So that's where they really need to get to, just from you look at the amount of feet you can put in a month, that's about what they need to have left to make it in the contract time next spring. Assuming you don't have, just a really bad wet spring or whatever, or subsequent delays. So progress is improving. They had some fits and starts getting out of the gate here. One of the challenges with an old water system, a very basic reason you're rehabilitating the system now, is a lot of the valves just don't close tight. We have them check everything they can before design, so we know that like a valve, sometimes it'll just turn forever, and it's not actually closed. But you can't tell if it closes tight. What you can't tell is if there's water still going through it, because there's still pressure on both sides. So you don't really know. If we find them where the valve nut just turns, they say, well, we need to use that valve during construction, so we make it so we find a way to cut one in at the beginning of the project. So when you need to isolate a section of town to do the work, it doesn't hang you up. Well, they had a valve, Murphy's Law, very first place you open a hole and start digging, a couple valves wouldn't shut off all the way. So they spent several days just trying to deal with that, get enough shut off, and put in an extra valve so that they could get it shut down and actually do the work. So they lost some time, spent a lot of extra time and energy there, naturally just in the first week kind of falling behind. They also found some sewer services and some other, like a clean out in the middle of the street that nobody knew about. Just typical old stuff that you see in a water system improvement project. Took a little extra time, and they had to add some flowable fill cement to protect it between the sewer main and water main. And so there'll be things like that just come up, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Our number one priority when things come up like that is to resolve it quickly, because what we want is we don't want us 12 people in orange vests all staring in a hole for 4 days. So we want to find an answer and move on as quickly as you can, because the meter is ticking, if you will, in that case. So contractors notified us that they've got some extra costs and they need to follow the contract and submit those accordingly, and then we'll review it and present a recommendation to the city as to what's eligible for some additional compensation there. So as those things come up, there'll be more. We just want to resolve it as quickly as you can. And you've got a great contractor that's pretty good to work with. They're struggling with staff as well, finding qualified people to know what they're doing, and there's a lot going on in the water main replacement, a lot to keep track of. And so if you haven't been down that road a couple times, it's a lot of hand-holding, I guess. But great crew. We've worked with Mungus on numerous projects along different scale. They're doing a good job. We're hoping they can make some really good production over the next few weeks and kind of recover some schedule is what they really need to do here. So let's see. So on Schedule 2, as of the date of this report, there's a total of 7,200 feet in that project. They had about 1,000 in. I think they put in like 100 feet between like 2 o'clock and the end of the day here today. So They'll spend 3 or 4 days just getting all the temporary water in and getting all prepared. Once they can shut the system down and start digging, it goes pretty quick. And then the cleanup goes pretty slow. So the intent and the way the contract is set up with respect to paving is that we try to only allow a certain amount of town getting torn up before they have to get their paving subcontractor and start paving behind it. So we'll be kind of monitoring that every week, because the other thing you're up against is, it's got to be a certain temperature to pave, and the batch plants to make the asphalt this time. Actually, they're going to be doing that here, so that might actually help. But the availability of asphalt and everybody's trying to get things paved, so you get bottled up or you get bunched up in the fall. So we'll be watching that pretty close and making sure that they're going to be able to get the majority of what's torn up black for the summer or for the winter. We just don't want to leave the trenches open. It's a perfect recipe for the water to go through the gravel and sitting on top and saturate the clay underneath, and it'd be really hard to get it dried out again and not cause problems in the future. So the intent is to get, it'd be ideal if everything that got torn up got black before they basically were done, and they didn't want to tear up anymore this winter. They may not get paved, and then they'll just go work on the transmission main. October, November, and you probably won't even know they're here while they're working on that project. So a few stats at the end of your progress report. Like I said, 180 calendar days total. Through August 20, they've expended 32. We kind of use those metrics to kind of look at production and say, are you going to make it, or do you need to staff up? What do you need to do here to catch up on schedule? Total paid to date, the progress payments you've already approved was just for materials and storage. You have another one on here tonight that's for the first 3 or 4 weeks of work in place. So that's about it. The city staff and mayor and Jane, they've had a busy month here with the administrative details of closing the loan and just all the administrative work that goes along with that. In addition to that, Jason and Nick and Stan, the water staff, it's, when valves don't close and things aren't turning off, and it's a pretty heavy additional lift for them when you got a water project going on in your town. The whole staff has just been awesome to work with, really responsive. I call Mike and Todd and ask for something crazy, and they're like, okay, but we'll do it. Whatever it is, it's you're not doing these projects all the time. The funding agencies have strange requirements, and there's just reams of it. So the staff has been terrific about just getting it done. Very patient with me when say, hey, here are the 5 or 6 or 7 things we need to get done in the next few weeks, and I'll get a little concerned about day 7. I'll call them up and Mike will say, oh, they're all done. Don't worry about it. We've got it taken care of. So they've been great, and so yeah, pat all of them on the back. The water staff. Let them know you're swinging for them, because there'll be events when there's water going places it's not supposed to be, and they'll have a really busy couple hours, so it can be a little stressful at times, but that's just kind of goes with the territory. That we really appreciate working with the city. You've been great. I love coming down here and being in Dillon and working with you. So, got any questions on any of that?
Hey Kevin, on your third page, I see there's some 18 and some 16-inch pipe that doesn't have any pricing on it, which tells me it's not available. I assume that's for the boring?
It was, the pipe itself is 18-inch high-density polyethylene, but there are certain places where we need to make some transitions. Actually, it wasn't a bid document to go through the board, but we gave them the option of using the HDPE, but...
This is PVC.
Yeah, and we needed that for some of the transitions, like where we tie in at the fairgrounds, and they couldn't even get a quote for it at the time. So they're going to actually end up using ductile iron for some of those. It's a piece here, a piece there, just to make transitions of valves. A butterfly valve will not open on an HDPE pipe without a transition because the pipe's too thick. The disc will hit it. So we have to have some transition pieces in there, and it's just easier to work with when you start having to bolt up all these fittings and all these different tie-ins and things. HDPE gets really difficult to work with. So it was designed with the PVC, because you can cut it anywhere and bolt it together anywhere, but we can't get it. So that'll be ductile iron. They've not raised the issue of the fact that they couldn't get a quote for that. They've not made any issue of it. We didn't really have any provision baked into the escalation clause. They said, well, if you can't get a quote, I guess this is what we'll do. So as far as I'm concerned, they're out of luck on that.
I see it's just 400 feet of here that isn't gonna be there. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, they're gonna end up using HDPE for all that and a few ductile iron spools.
Okay.
So. Anything else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I was wondering if, am I hearing it correctly that all of the dug up streets on Orr, and then, so then we have Idaho,
Yep.
Washington, Pacific, but it goes down, Orr, Morse, Reeder, all of those holes will be paved before the snow flies.
Yeah, that's, and actually, yeah, we need them paved. I mean, that's, yeah, so everything you see is torn up. There's a lot of holes open right now, or a few here and there.
Yeah.
Those, for the weekend, let's address that, but they're gonna get those, you need to leave them open because that's a temporary water and they're chlorination taps.
Uh-huh.
So until they're done chlorinating, testing,
Yeah.
and everything, they need to leave it open. And then when they're done, they can pull that temporary tap off and backfill the hole. They're gonna fill those in tomorrow. Not the ones necessarily where the streets are closed, but like corner of Orr and Montana. It's almost like a one-way street there right now.
Right.
That's gonna get filled in. And there's a few other key spots that they're gonna just get protected so someone doesn't fall in those or drive in those over the course of this weekend. They're gonna try to get all the holes that you see walking into Washington right now, right in front of the house, that's where the water service lines tie in.
Right.
They gotta leave those open until they're ready to make the final connections. Right now, the temporary water is going in there, and those, they gotta leave open for a while. So they're gonna try to get those all fenced up real good, park equipment around all this stuff, make sure nobody can inadvertently go down Washington over the weekend, so that block is totally shut down. And just, yeah, try to make it as safe as you can, considering the state of people isn't necessarily where it ought to be all the time. So yeah, we had a discussion and progress meeting with the contractor this afternoon, and that was a major discussion topic, was how do we try to safety-proof this site when it can only be so safe in the middle of construction, so.
That's great. I live in that area and we walk it every single night. So we got what you've done each day. I've had tons and tons of calls from not only homeowners but businesses, very upset. And when you talk people through the benefits, and yes, it's not a great time of the year, but people are, they calm down and they get on board. But the one thing that, and I walked through with a couple of neighbors yesterday, will we be able to clean the streets after they've been paved? But we have 2 people that are on oxygen, and we're having really a tough time with breathing.
Oh, the dust.
Because of the dust. And so I said, what would help besides having everything paved? And they said, if we could have it paved and then the street cleaned before the winter. Is that going to be possible, Mr. Mayor, do you think?
I think the contractor.
Yeah, they can't leave dirt all over the road. I mean, it's expected that they get it cleaned up pretty good.
Okay.
So they use a combination of washing and sweeping to try to get it off, and depending on the dirt and the conditions at the time, how clean they will get. But you're not going to be driving down the streets and kicking up dust. That wouldn't be what we would consider acceptable after it's paved. So, but for a while, it's going to be dirt. Or going to be gravel over the trenches, and they'll clean up as best they can behind it so it's drivable, it's compacted, and then when they do the asphalt prep, they'll come and strip that gravel back out, pave, and then they got to get cleaned up behind them.
Well, it's that, I think it's the 500 block of Washington and the 400 block of Idaho. That's where it comes to that T.
Yeah.
It comes into Orr Street, and that is just an especially I'm not sure why, but it's an especially dusty
It's
place.
busy right there. There's
It's
there's a
busy,
lot of
yeah.
traffic. And one other thing we talked about, they do have a water truck down here now that they can use to kind of help keep the dust down. You know, as it gets run over, it dries out and gets dusty again, but they do have some ability to control it even in this temporary state. So,
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin? Okay,
okay,
thank you. And also, if you can't leave, I told him he has to stay around for this other part. And that is number 2 item, is a change order. He just mentioned that we have to vote on a change order to do. This has to do with the cost escalation on this. We agreed to take part of the hit. It comes out to be, what, $20,000, $20,000 something?
1,450.
Yeah.
Move to accept.
Second.
It's been moved by Don, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the change order number 1 for the material price escalation for the river crossing water line replacement project by Mungus Company. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous. Now, I told he could probably leave if he wants, but there is another item under finance, but we'll cover it then. For another pay request,
sure.
number 2.
You good?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kevin.
everybody.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Enjoy the weekend.
Okay, next item, all has to do, all of these now, for my part, the mayor's report, has to do with budget. So the first one that we'll discuss, it's not a resolution in there, it's,
Thank you.
you have any changes you want to do to the preliminary budget. Now will be the time, once we vote on final, then you can still change it. Budget, again, like I've been saying, is a living document. But to change it after you vote on it, you have to go through and have a public hearing and go through the process of deciding what you want to do, and then you vote on it. And, you know, it adds a little extra time to, you just can't make a vote and off you go. So now's the time, if you want to make a change to preliminary versus going to final, is the time to do it. Like I said, I told you guys I was going to put it on the agenda for each meeting for the last 2 meetings, and then this one. So if no changes, we're going to go to the next item. Okay?
Mr. Mayor, can we handle all those items in one fell swoop by chance? Number 4 through 13, all the resolutions at once?
Let's do 4 separately, and then the rest I think you can.
Okay.
Main reasons, because everything below that is tied to approving the final budget. And that is number 4.
Okay.
Okay, so if you make a motion to accept number 4.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Don, seconded by Russ. Discussion. And this one again, like I said, is accepting and making preliminary become final. So after this vote, we'll have a final budget.
Hearing none, we'll call for the question.
Questions be called for to accept the resolution adopting the 21-22 fiscal year budget for the city of Dillon, levying taxes to provide revenue for that budget, allocating those funds to various budget categories and city activities. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. Okay, we have a budget now. Now again, if you guys want, you can approve items 5 through 13, I think it is.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve all items 5 through 13 inclusive.
Second.
It's been moved by Don, seconded by Diane, I heard. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? And I'll enter the discussion just to tell you, most of these, if not all of them, are assessments and taxes. So the general fund tax is in there, all the SIDs are in there, the street maintenance, the sprinkling district, the lighting district. This is what we're voting on right now.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for, and I'm not, let's just go items by, I don't want to read all of them, okay? It's pretty much for all the SIDs and districts, and bonds, some of the bonds too, okay? So, question's been called for to approve line items 5 through 13 on the September 1st meeting agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous. Okay, I'll get that to the county treasurer. That's where you gotta send all this stuff to, or a lot of it. So, plus Jamie and I are gonna have fun tomorrow signing all these resolutions. Okay, that was the mayor's report. Now, reports of officers and boards of the city. Library board, Mr. Oh, I bet she showed up. How about Lori Roberts? You want? Unless John wants to. John.
I've got the last couple meetings, then she pulls away.
We're throwing you in.
Oh,
Yeah, we
this
need to
is-
approve the minutes.
Yeah.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved by Raymond, seconded by Dan for the minutes. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept the July 27, 2021 meeting minutes of the library board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous.
Okay, so September's a big month, and we have a book sale happening at the fairgrounds. The library will be closed this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So today we closed at 6 p.m. and we will not reopen until next Wednesday. We have very few volunteers that are able to help us at the book sale, so staff, the board has approved that our staff be down there for the book sale. So we will be open at the book sale from 9 to 9. We're in the commercial building. Come down if you'd like to volunteer for a couple hours. That would be great to give my staff a break and just enjoy the fair. But we will reopen on Wednesday. Regular hours begin again. Starting next Thursday, the 9th, we will resume story time and books and babies. Jessica Kidd will continue with that. We have our schedule out. Our book club this month is the 14th, and it's Nomadland. And then we go into Banned Book Week at the end of the month. So Banned Book Week is huge. We're doing a scavenger hunt again. We are doing our banned book jail. So John has graciously agreed to sit in jail for me, as well as John, Gary, and Susan Briggs so far. So if anybody would like to come and help raise money for the library, our jail is lovely and enjoyable. We give you a little tiny file to try to figure out how to get out. And then we do need volunteers for that. We have some slots available. We are also going to do our escape room that week. So that week, the library will be closed from 4 to 6 on Thursday, and then just 4 to 5 on Friday, and then closed all day Saturday. And we have escape rooms going on after those times. So you come in, we lock you in, and you have to figure out the clues to try to get out before it explodes with COVID. I don't know. So it'll be fun. Do you guys have any questions so far? My statistics for summer reading, we had 269 participants, and they read a consecutive of 141 days. Not all of our participants were able to log their minutes. Some of them didn't get them in time, so I know that there's more than that. But we were 100 more than last year, and we were, I think, like 40 days more than last year or something like that. So that was awesome. We did really good.
Any question? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. Okay. City Attorney, Mr. Dillon.
Thank you. Brief report tonight. We held hearings in the Skradsky case on August 17th and August 26th. and Judge Berger was requesting findings, the proposed findings by September 9th, which I'll be working with the assigned counsel from MMIA on the counterclaim on. I've been doing some work and had some discussions with the mayor on the public nuisance ordinance. That I think is a work in progress. Then I guess I wrote down other duties as assigned. So we've been working on some other projects, random things here and there. And the criminal works proceeding as usual. I think the only observation I would make is that I think I've seen in the last 2 months, I think an increase in drug DUIs, and particularly marijuana. Since it was legalized, it seems like people think you can drive while smoking weed, which you can't. So that's just an observation I want to pass on to the council. We're getting a lot more of those types of cases. They can be a little more tricky to prove based upon some things in the statute. But by and large, I'm happy with the cases I've had so far from the police department. So.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Planning board, Mr. Hannon.
We did have a meeting, we have no minutes to approve this time, hopefully by the next meeting.
Thank you. Zoning commission, Mr. Graham.
Before you, you'll find the minutes for our August 10th, 2021 meeting. I ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Bill, seconded by John. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Question has been called for to accept the August 10th, 2021 meeting minutes of the zoning commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous.
Well, as you can see from our minutes, we approved a certificate to rebuild a house that was kind of in rough shape. We're going to tear it down and build it back from the same footprint. We have also approved our finding of facts, and we'll be forwarding that to the city council for their hearing and stuff. There's some zoning designations down on Noble Street. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So are they going to move into the house?
Yes.
That's cool.
The neighbors.
That's what I understand. That concludes my report then. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Director's Operations, Mr. Hazelbaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Crew's just getting things ready for Labor Day, getting street signs out, working with the police department, coordinating signs, various things. I'd like to thank the cross-country team, the high school cross-country team. They stained the little cabin that's in Children's Park yesterday as one of their community service projects, and they volunteered to do that, so that's very nice of them. So we appreciate coaches and the kids doing that. And then early Monday morning, if you are still out on the streets, if you'd like to stop and help us clean the streets, that would be greatly appreciated. One of the questions that came up today, what time do the bars close now? 2? Okay. So after 2 o'clock, if you're still downtown, and would like to help clean the streets, street and alley guys and myself would welcome the help. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, that was, I'm not shocked.
Yeah. It's under the 2 minutes.
I know. Wow, now I gotta buy him breakfast. Police Department, Chief Iverson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no August report due to the early meeting this month. We're just busy with Labor Day, getting things ready. trying to figure out the construction zones to make sure that we're gonna be like Pac-Man, cars are gonna be like Pac-Man moving around the place. So dealing with a lot of complaints over that with parking and, just with the road closures. With school back in session, at UMW, our calls are starting to go up a little bit. We'll continue to see that with our other schools opening. Assistant Chief Alvarez and Mrs. Braddock are keeping things rolling for Labor Day. I've seen a lot of court calendar has gone up a little bit as our cases continue to rise. With that, I'll be more happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Chief, how do you determine if someone's got too much THC in their system? The blood test?
You have to take a blood test, send it to the crime lab, so you have to wait on it for a while. And it's in nanograms, right? Yeah, it's nanograms.
Per milliliter of blood.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, it's just like a DUI, I guess we just have to wait for it longer. And our officers have been trained on detecting medical marijuana stuff, but now with the nanogram stuff, it's kind of, it's a learning curve right now and trying to figure out how we detect those things. But it goes along with driving, the prosecution, or the prosecution, we have driving and that. Then we'll charge it out and send it away to see if they come back with the amount.
So you don't have any immediate tests like breathalyzer per se?
Well, then no, eye tests, and so we do have a little bit at our disposal. We're just getting used to it. So yeah, there are eye tests for all birds.
That seems terribly frustrating to stop someone for that. Have to wait a week and a half for the results to come back.
Well, it's been like that with alcohol, even though, when people go for blood, I mean, sometimes people that are drunk don't really want to go downstairs and blow in the intoxilizer, so they give blood anyways. So, yeah, we charge them out anyways, and then the prosecution will deal with that. So, yeah, it's frustrating. It's a learning curve, but I think we're getting it.
I just wondered if you need some equipment there to assist with that or not.
I'm sure in the next couple of years, some company will come up with something real quick to help us.
The only comment I was gonna make is the holy grail would be a breathalyzer for THC. That'd fix a lot.
I'm sure it's sitting there. I'm sure some company's waiting on a patent.
There's why, Twinkie wrappers.
That's
Laughter. And Led Zeppelin 8 tracks.
That's my favorite band of all time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Next item, fire department, fire chief Closey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet, you'll find the July 2021 activity report. We had a very active July. Ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
We move by Russ, seconded by Bill, discussion.
Call for the question.
Question be called for to approve the July 2021 activity report of the fire department. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It is unanimous.
Chief, you did a good job on that hay truck fire. At least you can tell what color the paint was at.
Thank you. We had a few things. Last month, I had 6 Montana Youth Challenge cadets come down to help wash fire trucks and wash floors in the fire hall. And we will be, the rest of the fire department will be down there this Saturday cleaning trucks and cleaning spots that the Youth Challenge cadets missed on the trucks when they were cleaning, and finishing up cleaning the hall, things like that. In preparation for when you're done helping Todd clean the street, you can help come and have breakfast. So we've lowered our price from $8 to $5 this year. Just kind of a COVID relief, our little help, whatever. So we just like to invite everybody down.
You're buying us all free breakfast?
I don't believe I said that.
Todd is.
Todd, yes.
You show up at 2 o'clock and stay the whole time, I will buy you breakfast.
There goes his budget.
Are there any other questions?
This is Monday morning, right after the parade.
From 7 a.m. till noon.
Okay.
And their signs will go up probably Friday. You'll see our new sign truck will be out on the streets displaying breakfast flavor. We've used it a few times and it's really nice. So, just FYI.
I assume this certificate of coverage is for the breakfast? On the back of the page?
I would say it's for the fire, wouldn't it?
That's not me. I don't think.
Says Mitchell.
Oh, it's,
It's for the
Yeah.
safety.
Oh, okay.
Safety, which is our company.
Is it for our trucks that were up on the fire? And this is just the,
our general, looks like our general county insurance certificate.
Something to do with your safety fair on 8/18/2021. You know, when they took the fire truck down to the light.
Nope. I took the fire truck to, on July 10th was the first day down there. No, this is just a copy of, looks like just a copy of my newest certificate of insurance coverage. No idea why it's in here. This is district instead of city. But
If you were renting a park, the park or something for the breakfast, but you're not.
no, this is, I know what this is basically,
Right above the certificate holder, if Leary County is a member, the city of Dillon is additionally insured for activities and events that occur in support or as a result of the safety fair that you had on August 18th, 2021. That's what the insurance was for.
I see it.
that's about the time you were in Hawaii with the police cars, wasn't it?
Oh, probably the fire department, everybody went over to the Y for that.
Yeah,
And it just covers the events stuff. Anything else? Any other for fire chief?
That is what it was.
You know, DJ, Kevin was talking about blocking the trenches. We know folks that can do that. They're really good at backfires.
Okay, move on. City court. Judge Minor's not here. City treasurer, Ms. Skip.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your package, you have the cash summary report for July 2021, the bank reconciliation for July 2021, and the collateral report for Stockton Bank for the same period. And I ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
That's for all three.
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved by Bill, seconded by Dan. Discussion.
Are there any numbers that are concerning to you?
No? I think it's the same.
Well, again, the comp liability, 2190, that's negative, there's nothing you can do about it. It's tax money, you only get once, well, twice a year. So, and every year, we always come above from the calculations that I've done, so.
Call for the question.
Questions been called for to approve the cash summary report for July 2021, the cash bank reconciliation report for July 2021, and the collateral report for Stockton Bank. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take it as unanimous. Anything else, Karen, or any questions for Karen? Thank you. And I take it there's probably no tree board yet.
No, I think we're trying to figure out how to meet next week.
Okay, now we're going to reports of standing committees of the city council. Judiciary, Mr. Nye.
Yes, before you, you have the minutes for August 17th, and ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Diane, seconded by Bill. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the August 18, 2021 meeting minutes of the Judiciary Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that unanimous.
That was a nice meeting. We do have one action item to approve the first reading of Chapter 8.16, Public Nuisance Ordinance.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
Basically, what we had to do was put in some times for days for, you have so many days to, I think it's 14, to respond to the Director of Operations or to clean up whatever you have to do. And then if you're going to fight it or contest it, you've got 30 days, you have to have it in before it comes to the City Council. That's pretty much the gist that we had to do.
On page 2, under junk vehicle, second full line, towards the end, it says, it's not lawfully and validly licensed and remains inoperative or incapable of being driven. Is there a length of time of how long it has to remain inoperative for? Or is that highly subjective?
Now, what's the question?
The term inoperative, what is the length that you're allowing there?
Well, that's just the definition.
Once again, how many days is inoperative?
I think it was inoperative today, the police were called down to investigate. I don't think it's how long it's been happening.
We've got inoperative vehicles at present down here next to Depot Park, for example. So now, are you going to substantiate what they've got inoperative for at least 15 days or something? This is what I'm trying to get at.
The vehicles that you're talking about that are parked by Depot Park that is a business who is storing his, projects that he needs to get to on city streets. And that's a whole different issue. The issue here is what is a junk vehicle? And you have to kind of take the entire definition of what is a junk vehicle. A discarded, ruined, wrecked, or dismantled motor vehicle. So you have a motor vehicle that's taken apart.
Okay, you got a truck without an engine in it, that's a dismantled vehicle, how long can it sit? I think it's very easy to get a reverse charge of arbitrary and capricious here. I'm not objecting to what you're saying, I'm just saying I think you need a time there, instead of leaving it open like that to inoperative. Because I don't know how Mr. Dillon can prosecute it without loose of language.
I don't think that, the vehicles that are parked at Depot Park are there in a queue, so to speak. They're lined up and will be fixed when it comes their turn. This ordinance has to do with a junk vehicle, and if you read the entire definition.
So if I take your car and work on it and park it on the street, that's okay? Even though it's disassembled? Why would that not be classified as a junk vehicle, according to this definition?
Number one, then nobody's gonna fix my car on the city street. I mean, we might change a tire. But
You see my point, don't you? That's a very loose description. Chief, how would you handle it? And the police end?
I don't know, but the ordinance, as it sits now, you can't work on a vehicle in the street anyways, you're not supposed to be anyways. So, I don't know, I would say inoperable is a vehicle that doesn't work. I don't know if there's a time limit on it. I mean, I would think that we would use our common sense if somebody's, pulled over and their vehicle broke down, so we deal with that, they get it fixed, it gets taken care of. But inoperable would mean something that sits there forever, it's not running. I guess we have to use our discretion on that, but, that's how we handle it. I think it's pretty obvious, what they're trying to put down. I don't know, Mr. Dillon, you think there's a problem with that wording? I don't see the problem.
I think I see Mr. Hand's point, that is, that you obviously, time limit is more objective, but I don't think it's fatal in the sense that if you had somebody do a competent investigation, a 1973 Pontiac Le Mans without its engine is probably inoperative. I think it's common sense. Somebody should figure that out. The tags have been expired. These are things that you could add to substantiate your conclusion, or the officer's conclusion, that it's in fact a junk vehicle. So,
You don't see an issue for your office? Okay.
not as long as there's a fully competent investigation, getting all the facts and finding it.
Now, the other thing is, I'm sort of taking it as I've been listening to the discussion. Everything's being brought up as street. This has nothing to do with streets. This has to do with private property. If there's private property that has junk, and junk vehicle is one of the items, there's also like bricks scattered, wood scattered around in unkept order, dirt, demolition, waste, iron parts, metal parts, household appliances, rubble, debris, gray water, sewage, junk, yada yada, and then underneath there is junk vehicle. Now, some of the stuff on the person, things like junk vehicles, there's two options. You can shield it from public view, and then they can't make you get rid of them. Okay, or you remove them to a licensed motor vehicle wrecking facility or vehicle graveyard or something like that. Okay, but you can shield it and still keep everything. At least for junk vehicles I'm talking about.
But Mr. Mayor, am I correct that I think when we get to the dead animals, you really have to remove those?
Right, I was just talking junk vehicle on that. A lot of this, like, we don't want gray water or sewage stored around on people's property, period. We don't want that. But the junk vehicle, some of those, just by that definition, will not be really junk, because if somebody's working on a prize old car, well, that meets all of that. Now, stuff discarded, it's not really a discarded, and that's where, But even if it was wrecked, I could wreck a car, but I'm going to fix it up as long as it's on my property. And I can shield it from the public view. Nobody else has a right to say anything about it. Unless, of course, there's a bunch of animals like rats and that running all over. But this ordinance helps that if there's actual sewage sitting around on somebody's yard, we can go in there and say you got to clean it out, even though right now there might be some laws out there to help that, but not really. This will help that part, that you can't have sewage out on the city, private property. Did that help explain a little bit? We already have laws on vehicles on the city street. And there's a definition in that section on junk vehicle. Or some type, I can't remember if it's junk vehicle or abandoned in that one. Okay. That would be for city streets themselves.
I think what was trying to be, facilitated here too is you don't want a rolled backhoe out in the yard or
that's kind of the impact of their kind of.
Also on the item public view, a couple lines down, you need a distance there. I guess pound signs at present.
What was that number?
Well, on that, you gotta be careful because we have a height limit on, what is it, 6 feet?
Yeah.
So,
And that has to be only the back and front camera, but only 3 feet.
It's viewed from the center line of the road, that basically says the front of your house. But I would interpret it.
Most everything is based off the center line of the road for the height.
And usually it's at 6 feet. That's the normal person that stands in the middle of the road. They can see it over it. And if you have a fence, it makes it harder, so that helps protect you with the view.
So you want to make 6 in there, is that what
I'd
you're
say
saying?
6 is what I see.
Does that also mesh with the zoning ordinances?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're going to add 6 feet from the center, the fronts.
Replace the pound signs with the number 6.
So basically, anything that can be seen from the road, anything in the back alley or behind the place is not affected by that?
The alley is a right of way. And so, and if you stand on the alley and they find what they consider to be this, then you would have to fence if it's there. What this ordinance says if this passes.
And 6 feet is all higher you can go.
6 feet all higher you go for
Fence.
For a fence,
But I
yes.
meant for vehicles or anything like that, it's the back that you can't see from the road, is that affected as well?
Can you see it from the alleyway?
Yeah.
Then you got a 6-foot fence. The 6-foot fence is the correct maximum height for the city without the variance, isn't it, Mr. Hazelbaker?
Yes.
With the addition of ornate toppings on top of that 6-foot fence, Mr. Hazelbaker.
That is true.
Yes.
You can
Now, it
go
doesn't
a
have,
foot.
doesn't have to be a fence either, it can be shrubs or something.
Correct. Yeah, it don't have to be a fence. Just shield the public view.
Okay, so basically, it's a Lady Bird Johnson highway beautification thing in the city of Dillon, in other words.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Trying to make things easy as we can.
Sorry?
Trying to make things as easy as we can for the residents.
Wasn't the prior ordinance, it had something in there about that as well, am I mistaken?
About what?
About having if you had a junked area, I think it actually said that in the past ordinance, didn't it? Something about a junked area? Or was that prior to 1997? That might have been prior to 97 when we changed it. Because I remember the original ordinances that I got had something in there about shielding something from view, so I might be very antiquated in that.
Well, this is part 60, or section 60 is shielding. Page 3. Just notice it's not Act 22 though.
I'm getting
And we got another,
way back.
on page 3G, abandoned vehicles to be handled pursuant.
Yeah, I was gonna put that in. I had to dig up the code and I didn't.
I go replace that code.
Yeah, I was gonna put the actual number that belongs there.
Is that Montana code or city code?
City code. Montana code is underneath that.
You got the same problem on page 1 as well. Under 81632 under intent, you need an ordinance number there.
Where?
On page 1.
Yeah, on the, if you're talking about when it says in P and C ode, ORD, is that the section?
Yes.
That's all over the place in there. That's my little way of saying don't forget to put things in here after first reading. If first reading passes, I fill in, I give it an ordinance number, and I give it the dates that I expect it to pass if it's going to. And all
Yeah, that is referencing on ordinances already on the books.
all the way through. No, this ordinance is not.
So is this for the whole city, residential areas, business areas,
Yes.
the whole city?
Yes.
So any business, you don't have to start doing this. There's a lot around here that has junk around. Just letting you know. Hope we don't run business out of Dillon.
This is, what I was thinking of is the Montana code, 75255, so I just spoke on the ordinance.
Drive up Montana Street. There's every one of the business says. To me, you should jump out. It don't bother me, but it's junk to, you know, someone could say that. Whalen Tire, I can go through and list every business in town that people could get pretty upset about. Well, I want a fence around it, so they're gonna, I'm gonna become a fence contractor.
Some of these, if you read on page 2,
Yeah.
I mean, you looked at like junk vehicles. It's like if you have bricks, concrete blocks, waste wood, and similar materials. Okay? All you gotta do is stack them in a neat stack, and you're good to go. That'd be part 8, under the section 8.16.050.
So if it's in an orderly fashion, it's okay.
For that part. Some of them,
But
like dead animals, no.
Oh, dead. But like at the tire stores, if they're stacked up nicely in an orderly fashion,
And they do.
Mr. Hanks down there, his washers and dryers are in an orderly fashion back there, so he doesn't have to shield them. You know, that's,
Well, I've actually been shielded anyway.
yeah, but it's just a thing, it's a lot of them.
But
Does it have to be in an orderly fashion not to be a junk, to me? I guess that's,
The opinion is what's junk. If people are working on using it, you know, I mean, it's not like it's sitting around not being used. It's partially being taken off or scrap that for it.
you know, just, well, another orders, we can fight over for next year.
So how does everyone determine what junk is, though? I mean, if it's being used for something and it's lined up and orderly, that's good enough?
Because I've seen cars in neighborhoods in the driveway tore apart. The guy goes out and works on them once a month. He has every intention to get it fixed. So it's not a junk vehicle to him, but all his neighbors, it's a eyesore, it's a bunch of junk. So that's what it is somehow you're gonna have to define junk so everyone can agree on what junk is junk.
John, I think that
Basically
we
what
tried
this-
to, do common sense. Just, we weren't trying to be sneaky or with exact dates. We were trying to use, if you have an old vehicle that is inoperable and doesn't run, and it's parked there for, and nothing has changed on it for a year, would you call that a junk vehicle?
Probably if he hasn't worked on it here, probably. To me, yeah, but it's in the eye of the beholder. If I have a 64 Oldsmobile, ugliest car and stand tore apart in my driveway, I'm working on it, I have every intention to fixing it up, but all my neighbors think, God, that's ugly. Oh, I'm working on it. He goes out there once a year to put in a bolt. He's working on it. He has every intention over his lifespan to get his beloved car running. He'll never do it, but he's working on it. That's my point. You have to have, we go to court, we thought it would be just common sense, and that's going to get thrown out. So if you're going to have to define junk, you're going to have to define junk. And come down and put it up, I'd say.
Basically, what this is doing
Can I say
is,
something real quick?
hold on just a second. What this is actually doing is making people clean up the stuff.
Oh, I know, but
You know, that's what it's for.
I know.
It's not, we're not telling people they can't do that sort of stuff in their yard.
Yeah.
Just keep it at a clean.
That's what I understand
That's
that.
what it's about.
But that's what it is, you know, you're gonna run across the nasty neighbor. Someday, someone will, oh, this is junk to me, and it's gonna be on TV as disorderly neighbors or whatever they call it, where they start shooting at you. I think it's junk, I don't, call the cops. So I understand your point. I think there's a lot of things that needs to be cleaned up in Dillon. But, you know, how are you gonna do it unless I say it's junk, you go to them, no, it's not, it's my family heirlooms.
If I can interject here too, I think that the whole process is going to be different than I think we're narrowing down on one little thing or what could happen or what could happen. But I think something like that's a lot different than people that have continually collected and collected.
You know, the collector, yeah.
Because it's going to be such a monumental task anyways, that we're not even going to be able to have the time or the energy, both the prosecution, the city, whoever's enforcing it, to even do that. So I think that what it does is it tries to limit the big offenders, which I think we can all agree with. You know, I mean, 99% of the.
You know, watch most people, if you ask them, hey, clean up your mess, I'm sorry, and they'll do it. You know,
I don't see the police or cause departments, you know, going buck wild. Because we're pretty busy otherwise. So I think this is basically in hopes that people will conform and that we have some teeth to go after the real problems.
Yeah. But that's how I always look at it. I hate to make something that a neighbor can, I got this piece of paper, you have to clean up your block, you know, because I think this is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I can see people doing it.
Oh, we see stuff like that every day.
You know, and that's what it is, you know, that's why I don't like, you know, vague laws, I guess.
Mr. Dillon, can you advise us as to any legal concerns with this bill as it's written at present, other than the blank spaces?
Well, a few I want to point out. Let's look at the top of page 2. I want to point out that it says this definition does not include persons servicing, manufacturing, or processing materials, goods, or products on lots in public view, so long as the materials used in the normal operation of the business are neatly stacked and piled. So if you, again, I'm not trying to single Mr. Munster out, but if he stacks washers and dryers and things like that, and refrigerators with the doors removed, because that is state law, you do have to take those off in the back, and they're neatly piled according to this, you wouldn't necessarily have to erect a fence. Again, with another situation in town that I'm intimately aware of, and I think most people are, you know, that individual is not engaged in the business of selling cars. It does not have a vehicle sales license. And so that's the type of thing that this is targeting. So I want to make that distinction clear. So this makes that clear to me. The other thing that I wanted to point out is on page 5 of 22 at the bottom, it says penalty. Any person who violates any provision of this chapter is subject to the penalty set forth in this title for civil violation. What's the title? We don't have that defined. We need to fix that. And you need a schedule for those for that, for how you want to fine those people, so, or what you want to call it, a penalty. Maybe you don't want to call it a fine because it sounds too friendly. So that's going to have to be addressed.
That has to be added to our list of, our fee schedule list, basically, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to do it, you're going to have to reword it and have it set up to where that applies.
Well, I thought we had a fee
We
thing,
did-
if you don't,
we
that's
did have
under, same page, number 4.
under 8.16.070. Now, Part D is just enforcement.
That's if you fail to obey it,
So what else would you have a penalty for?
or having it in the first place.
I don't think you want to have a penalty just to have it in the first place. If you go through this whole process and
Well,
fix it up, you should be punished for that, but not just because they say, you got to give me 500.
Well, I would say that, you do want the penalties because you want to motivate people to clean it up themselves before the city has to spend money to do it. I think it's the carrot and stick approach, honestly, is what's intended.
Doesn't number 4 above require a ruling from court?
Right, and this whole thing is, you just don't go out and give a ticket. The Director of Operation goes out on a place that they determine needs to be looked at, or his representative, and they go through and they talk to the person that owns the property, that's abatement and mitigation, and they get a plan formed, if they want. Either the Director of Operations will go and tell the person, your place is considered, I don't want to say junk, but I mean it's got stuff in it that needs to be cleaned up. If you clean, and they have 30 days to either clean it up, which then it all goes away, or gets it to this, or they come back with a mitigation plan on how are they going to fix it, and they set up some time. What was the maximum time you guys said? 60 days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they have 60 days, that would be the plan, or that's the maximum, they can come back with less than 60 days on what are they gonna do to clean it up. Now, if they come back and it's cleaned up in those time, it all goes away, you're all done. There is no fine, there is no penalty. But then, if they don't do that, then the city can give them a letter saying you have to do it, and if they don't, then the city will go do it. And then they will then go into number 4, they will then charge them for the abatement work, and then also give them a civil penalty up to $500 or 10% of such cost, whichever is greater. At that point, it's when the city has to go clean it up.
Don't you have to have the court order to go clean it up first?
Yeah.
I think, Mr. Mayor, your theory of how it should work is good. It's just that I think there's a violation of civil rights in there because you circumvented the court.
And so, I mean, we went through this and discussed it in there, so it sounds like to me then it should go back to judicial.
Yes, sir.
And everybody that has a statement on here to make it, give it to one of the judicial members, or me, don't care. And we'll try to voice all the concerns and try to make it even better. Not necessarily make it worse or tougher, just, there's some places that need to be cleaned up, and that's what this really started. There's some places that actually have very raw sewage sitting in their yard, and it's stinking up the town, and we really don't have any law easily to enforce to stop it. That's what some of this is. I mean, I don't have a problem because where I live don't have any people with raw sewage. There are some people that do, and we're trying to help them.
So,
I would just say I would just want to mirror what Jim said, too, is I think there has to be some kind of penalty for the process to move forward on the initial. You can go warn them first, give them the 30 days, and if the 30 days is not taken care of, there needs to be some type of penalty. And then that makes, then it will go through the court, and then that gives traction and it gives some fingernails to the process.
Mr. Mayor,
That's what number 4 does.
Well,
That's way down, it's after enforcement. The court has to come up in here under 4C even almost.
so you would like us to have a ticket right at the very get-go.
Just a second, just a second.
probably some, yeah,
You can have this.
I don't know. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I think it's a good idea we come up with a plan to mitigate the problems. People need to be warned. But the problem is when we start taking our laws out of context and use it as a bully puppet. Mary Jane O'Rourke has done that with my place. Went behind the place and complained, did all stuff. We've already cleaned things up. Didn't have to, and we're going to put a fence in. But we can't be using this as a bully puppet just because someone doesn't like something because of political reasons. And Mary Jane O'Rourke is a good example of what's already happened, and now we got this debate as well. So we just need to make sure that people know what the law is. It can't be arbitrary, and so it's very clear. That's what I would like to see.
Excuse me,
As you do too.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't hear well enough. Did you use my name?
Yes, I did.
Okay, could, I didn't,
Would you like to repeat it to her? Because everyone knows that she complained, right? Took pictures of the property and the appliances back there, and tried to use the bully puppet. But the thing is, that whatever laws we put in place, it needs to be very clear, so people can't use it. So people cannot use it for political reasons or anything else.
I'm trying to get this straight. I brought to the city some pictures of little children playing on, I think, appliances that belong to you that had their doors on them. And because I was concerned about the safety of those children getting stuck in those appliances.
So they're all upright appliances, they can't get stuck in them, but I understand.
So, but I'm not understanding how that relates to a bully pulpit.
Because it's been there for over 10 years since I've had it, it's never been a problem.
I guess I had never, I was called by two people who live in the neighborhood to come down and look
I
at it.
understand, then you and your husband came down and even kind of threatened us at our place, and then you started this. That's how it started. So be very clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it.
You're incorrect.
No,
You're
I
incorrect.
am absolutely correct.
No, you're
That's exactly what
incorrect.
happened.
You're incorrect.
So clearly there's
Let's
concern
go
here,
on.
folks. Surely when you have neighbor dispute, people going through neighborhoods, it's gonna happen, okay? They're all skunks on the alley, we all know that. So when this goes back to committee, please look at public view. According to zoning, you cannot have a 6-foot fence in your front yard.
Correct.
Correct.
Just saying, folks.
So
You can't have them both. You can't have them both.
But you can have
it
a back 6-foot fence.
You can fence the backyard up with the fence.
The backyard is not the front yard, as this is worded, from the middle of the street, folks. And if your house is on the corner, it must be a mesh chain link fence. Check your zoning. They gotta be compatible, and this is not compatible. So just look at that, please.
Well, that's why we need some people to
Bring it to your attention.
Yeah.
Good idea.
send it to your concerns to the judiciary.
That's
so
what I
we
just
can
said, as it
address
goes
it.
back,
Right.
because that's what we're discussing. Y'all need to listen.
Well, I'll second the motion, sending it back to judiciary.
Did Don make the motion?
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Okay, Don made the motion to table this back to judicial, and Dan seconded. Since it's tabled, there's no discussion, so let's move forward to a vote. All those in favor of sending Chapter 8.16 Public Nuisance Ordinance back to judicial committee for further discussion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. It's unanimous. And we'll put it back on committees. And hopefully everybody can get in their concerns, which they've been very valid, not just on that, just make sure we don't miss them.
Yeah.
And fix this as much as we can.
I think the basic premise is good.
But we gotta do it right. I disagree. It's gotta be done right. We're not trying to pick on anybody. At least I'm not.
And when's the next when is that next meeting? So we make the deadline.
It's the third Tuesday, in September, and I can't see the map.
So that Friday,
Huh?
that Friday then.
No, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Third Tuesday would be the
So the packet's
23rd.
going on Friday. Do they not? For that committee?
Yeah, it'll be Friday. Yeah, I'm sorry, I see what you're saying.
Thank you.
Tuesday.
I'm glad somebody.
It's the third Tuesday.
Oh, 21st.
21st is meeting, so the Friday before that, it's the 20, no,
17th.
17th, that's right. We didn't get rid of August there.
Yeah.
That's what threw me off.
Good answer.
So try to get all of the concerns to us on the 7th, by the 17th, I'll get it in the packet so everybody knows, or I'll get it changed in the actual ordinance, I'll put in the concerns as a list, so they can just go through and check.
Mr. Dillon, you gonna be able to make that meeting?
4 o'clock is judicial, 4 o'clock.
What's the date? Sorry.
On the 21st?
21st at 4 o'clock.
I should. Yeah, I should.
Because if we need to fix that one part, we need your
Yeah.
input. Okay.
Okay, then we'll move on. Finance Committee, Mr. Hand.
Before you have our minutes from our August 26th meeting, and ask your acceptance.
Move to accept. Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by John. Discussion.
Under item 1, the last full line, I believe you're missing the letter D. As in my last name. Both Dan and I and Don Ham. Please put a D on the end of that. Under item 1.
Yep.
On the agenda.
Okay.
Yes. At least I don't think my name got changed.
So it's not like the Hendersons, Mr. Hand.
So,
Call for the question?
the question's been called for to approve the August 26, 2021 meeting minutes of the Finance Committee as amended. Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. I take that as unanimous.
We have 3 action items. I'd like you to approve the line item budget report for August 2021, approve the fund summary for claims for August 2021, and approve the claims by vendor report for August 2021 as well.
And budget
Second.
versus that.
Set next page.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, approve the budget versus actual report for August 2021, and approve, okay, we'll do the last one second.
Right, yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Diane, seconded by Russ. Discussion. This is for the first 4 items.
Correct.
Any discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the line item budget report for August 2021, the fund summary for claims for August 2021, the claims by vendor report for August 2021, and the budget versus actual report for August 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take it as unanimous for all 4.
And the final action item report is approve the Mungus second pay request. In your packet, there's a letter from our engineer, Mr. Johnson, indicating that the contractor has met his obligations so far, and he'd like to do a draw so he can pay his help.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Diane. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Which has been called for to approve the Mungus second pay request of the total 184, 241.50 and 1,861, which sets separately in the Montana Department of Revenue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous.
That completes my report unless there's any questions.
Okay, next item, Fire and Order Committee, Mr. Schaefer.
No meeting, no report.
Health and Welfare, Mr. McGinley.
No meeting, no report.
Cemetery Committee, Ms. Diane.
No meeting, no report.
Too used to saying Ms. Diane. Parks Committee, Ms. O'Rourke.
No meeting, no report.
City Hall Committee, Mr. Graham.
Before you will find the minutes of our August 19th, 2021 meeting. I ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Dan. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Questions been called for to approve the August 24th, 2021 meeting minutes of the City Hall Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Okay,
Take that as unanimous.
we have one semi-action item on the minutes meeting we discussed the putting an elevator and stuff in City Hall and remodeling, and we thought it was important that we actually form a committee to decide just what we're gonna be spending the money on for sure before we move forward and with any paying, for contractors to look at the building and engineers and all that good stuff has to be done before we can do it. So we thought we better make up our minds for sure what we're going to spend the money on. So we brought this forward to the city council to some kind of a temporary committee to discuss that. The ARP funds or, yeah.
And I can't remember the code. If I do the temporary council, I think it's the president of the council, I think. That would do even a temporary committee with approval of the council, I think. So even if it is mine, I would not have a problem letting Mr. Hand, as council president, come up with a committee. Probably 3 if you can, 4 would work, or 5. But make 3, because then you get a council committee. So, or council, actually. So, if you could come back by next meeting with a committee of members. This is just temporary. This is to go through and discuss and come up with recommendations to the council to decide on how you're going to spend the $1,090,000. Most important part of it is make sure, or have the whole council committee will come to their conclusions that it has to be ARPA qualified. So it has to be related to COVID-19 stuff. So, and then we can start on that. And then once we get those projects, then the projects can take off and make decisions on what to do with them. Once the council's, that's how I see this going forward, that the council so does.
Okay, so you want the committee to come up with projects A, B, C, and D for the council to look at, see if they like.
I agree.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. And also verify and come up with reasons why they should be A, B, and C.
Okay, why they comply with ARPA.
Why they comply with ARPA.
Okay.
Everybody agrees? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Well, I don't know if you need just, yeah, let's just wait. You can, Mr. Hand will take it, he'll come up with the committee, then you guys approve that committee at that point. So if you can have it by next meeting, I'll put it on next meeting's agenda.
Good.
Thank you. Because we gotta get going on that, even though you have until the 2024, it's best to start.
Decisions by committee take time.
Don't
So
need
let's
to
get
make
them
up
now.
we're gonna spend the money.
Yeah.
So,
Any others for City Hall?
well, as you see, we've been discussing rules of procedure. We have a few issues that we want the city attorney to evaluate before we continue on. We're trying to proceed, get something done with the insurance company in our roof. And I believe the mayor took care of that.
I haven't heard back from him, but he has it.
So, other than that, we're happy to answer any questions. That will conclude my report then, thanks.
Thank you. Street and Alley, Mr. Nye.
No meeting, no report.
Water and Sewer, Mr. Hand.
No meeting, no report.
Okay, last item, public comment on items of significant public interest not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the city. Is there anybody out there that wants to?
Yes.
Please get up to the microphone.
Very interesting discussions you people have here.
And also state your name, please.
My name is Chris Brozell.
Chris, would you grab one of the microphones when it please? The other one doesn't appear to be working.
Battery's dead, sorry.
Battery dead, there's other ones underneath. Just hold it if you could. There you go, you can sit down if you understand.
All right, I'm here to propose some legislation for your consideration. This would bring some transparency and give the public some insight in the data collection and surveillance in our town. Actually, this is already drawn up and it just needs to be tweaked for the city here. And I've actually been talking to people over the last week and there seems to be quite diverse interest in this. Lots of questions and concerns. A lot of paranoia out there and, you know. But there's quite support here. I have over 100 names. And from all political spectrums and actually age groups. And let's see, who would be on the Judiciary Committee here?
Well, first off, we gotta first explain what is it.
Well, this is legislation drafted by the ACLU. It is entitled An Act to Promote Transparency and Protect Civil Rights and Civil Liberties with respect to surveillance technology and its community control over policing surveillance.
Okay. First off, we gotta ask, does the city have control over that or not?
In some respects, I suppose, depending on what we decide to use, but I mean, generally, that's a legislative thing. It would come from Helena. It would come from the top down, in my view.
Well, this is
Otherwise, don't interrupt me.
It's okay. Do we have the power to do that?
What I'm saying is that generally, those things are handled in Helena because you don't want a hodgepodge of things all over the state. In other words, you don't want more protection here and less protection here. And that's why you want everything to be handled centrally. So I'm not sure, I mean, certainly listen, but I'm not sure if it's a subject that's really maybe best approached with the Dillon City Council.
So if possible, would you just recap the Dillonite Daily? Because a lot of folks here do not read it. I read it, 23 cities.
I believe there's 21 cities, but this is actually specifically drafted for
So if you just
cities.
elaborate, because I know some of the folks here are just a little clueless.
I
hate to have you backtrack, but I think just to get a better understanding, please.
Well, let's see. I can actually read the preface of the act here. Whereas the City Council finds it essential to have informed public debate as early as possible about decisions relating to surveillance technology. Whereas the City Council finds that no decisions relating to surveillance technology should occur without strong consideration being given to the impact such technologies may have on civil rights, civil liberties, including those guaranteed by the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution. Whereas the City Council finds that while surveillance technology may threaten the privacy of all of us throughout history, surveillance efforts have been used to intimidate and oppress certain communities and groups more than others, including those that are defined by a common race, ethnicity, religion, national origin, income level, sexual orientation, or political perspective. Let's see, whereas the City Council finds that decisions regarding if and how surveillance technology should be funded, acquired, or used, and whether data from such technologies should be shared should not be made until meaningful public input has been solicited and given significant weight. Whereas the City Council finds that legally enforceable safeguards, including robust transparency, oversight, and accountability measures must be in place to protect civil rights and civil liberties before any surveillance technology is deployed, and whereas the City Council finds that if a surveillance technology is approved, data reporting measures must be adopted that empower the City Council and public to verify that mandated civil rights and civil liberties safeguards have been strictly adhered to. And this goes on to describe the technologies that would be included. There's a public panel oversight and actually fines for abuse of the act itself.
So this is designed to limit the city's ability to collect information or any citizen's ability to collect information?
This would just deal with the city and not private citizens, but
wouldn't be designed to limit anything, just to give the public more input into it and oversight. Yeah, I'd be happy to let you read this.
Would this include, I mean, the only discussions that I can remember in the last year would be either from the cemetery committee or from Parks and Recreation for cameras, both at the cemetery and at J.C. Park. Is that what we're discussing here? Is something that would be surveillance?
Well, that's the only time that we've talked about camera usage. So at this point.
You got the police body cams too.
That's right. We do have the police body cams.
And I noticed that you referenced or looked over towards me when you made that. Is that what you're insinuating, is the officer body cams?
This would actually be a comprehensive policy that would cover all surveillance technologies within the city.
Because I think we can probably answer that too, is the Supreme Court has ruled that that's fine. And actually what it does is it protects civil liberties. Now, I can imagine a person, that is acting in an illegal fashion would not want to be recorded. I can understand that. But the Supreme Court's acted, the legislation has moved, and I agree with Mr. Dillon, in fact, that this is probably not the place for that.
Now, is it the Montana Supreme Court or the United States?
United States.
I believe this legislation is actually crafted directly for cities, and 21 within the United States have already approved this, most unanimously. Like I said, there is a lot of desire for more information and transparency in this area, and this is a good time to get on top of this before things would get out of control.
With the body camera issue, I would say that that's exactly what this does, is opens up more transparency. So I guess I'm kind of at a loss.
Well, this
If that's what
actually
you're talking about.
it would not be limited to strictly body cameras.
So that's all I
would include the international cell phone catchers and cell site simulators, license plate readers, if you gentlemen are employing those, the public should know. Any closed circuit television cameras that you monitor, biometric surveillance, DNA capture mobile DNA capture technology, X-ray vans. And it actually is very comprehensive, goes on to cover everything from surveillance-enabled capable light fixtures, any tools you may use to monitor social media.
So you mean the stuff we need a warrant for? Those are all things you need a warrant for already.
Well, this would disclose if you are actually using those technologies and give the public input and if you decide to bring any new technologies into the city.
With a warrant, that's the only way, and I can tell you, we don't have drones or super. I have a hard time with the internet, let alone any of those things we just talked about. Half the words I don't even understand, so I think we're okay there.
Well, you may think that, but there's a lot of people out there that actually do not, that have questions about it and would like to know more. I realize your reluctancy to disclose, but this would not impede any of your actual legitimate
You need any of that
investigation.
stuff that you're talking about, and I know where you're going with this, and I know where you come from with this. However, Mr. Roselle, I have to have a warrant for every single one of those things that you talk about, every single one of them. So that is I don't know what this is about.
Okay, let's
This is
continue
about civil
on.
liberties and civil rights.
Let's continue on. Does the council want to take this and just send it to judicial and collect facts or whatever committee? I was thinking judicial if you want to do it.
Mr. Mayor, as much as I appreciate Mr. Roselle coming to the council with some new legislation, Judiciary Committee, we've been working really hard for 2 years on 2 different titles that we can't seem to get passed through this council. And all we want to do is get the dead animals and the excrement out of the backyard. So you're so far beyond this.
Well, this is something that is far beyond everybody, but something that we could bring some transparency and get the public more insight into. We take a lot of burden off your shoulders and gives a lot of trust back to the police here, which did seem to be an issue with the people I talked to. Like I said, I talked to quite a few people over the past week or so. There seems to be somewhere around 55 to 60% support for this actual legislation within your town. I don't think that's something you should ignore.
Well, if something's gonna be reviewed, let's give it to City Hall, to actually a procedural thing.
Okay, City Hall wants to take it? Can you give it to us?
Yes, I actually did not know how many copies to print, but I do have quite a few here.
I don't need just one.
Well, I'd like to.
And then I'll get it on the agenda. City Hall, third.
Thank you.
Third Thursday, I think.
16.
Yeah.
Okay, the meeting's gonna be on the 16th. 16th of September.
Thank you. Thank you for, Mr. Hand? would you
Yes,
like
please.
to-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brundell, I did not get your address, or are you from Dillon, or?
I am actually from Lima, but 96 of the 100 signatures I have right here in front of me are from your town, Dillon. And Dillon being the county seat of the county, this is where we all have to come to do our legal and shopping and entertainment and everything else. So, yeah, there was only actually 4 people from outside of Dillon on this list here. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Now, what they're doing is it's going to be sent to City Hall. That committee's on the 16th of September at 4 o'clock. And it'll be on the agenda.
Thank you. And I'll be here in this.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other
Is there-
questions or comments? Thank you.
Come up then. Is there any other comments?
Hank Linzer. Can you hear me on this? Yeah. I just had a little comment about my moving truck that parks in front of my shop there. I normally pull it up a little bit on the curb so it's further out of the way from traffic. And there's been some rumors started that I shouldn't be parking up there, but we've been doing this for 10 years. And as everyone knows, we had a vehicle, my van out front, that got hit and was really pushed in front of Copper John's. So we do that so it's a little further out the road so people can see around it, even though they probably shouldn't be pulling out where they are. I want to make sure that that's okay. We do have an approach there. It is a driveway that goes in. I want to make sure it's okay for me to pull it. We're not pulling on the sidewalk at all. We're just pulling up, trim the approach there so it is a little more clear. So I just want to make sure that's okay with everyone so we don't have any issues.
So just for the information, I was the one who went and told, and it wasn't Hank, he wasn't there that time, I can't remember. I think I told you didn't I? But I was just saying that really there's been some tickets that have been given to other people that when you park on the boulevard or the sidewalk, that's not lawful. So it wasn't saying we're out hunting for you, okay?
Oh, no, I
It's
understand.
just,
But I'm asking if that's possible for me to do, because I do have an approach there. Can we pull it up? I'm just pulling basically the wheels up on the curb use just to give a little more clearance.
There used to be a garage door right there.
There was a garage door, there's an approach there, everything. And the same thing is people park there in front of the glass place and they pull up, but there's an approach there too. So the same thing happens. The problem is they just come along and they paint everything.
So are we saying that it's, that it is, we're changing the law right here in the city council meeting, that it's okay to park on boulevards?
no,
No.
Oh, I would have to say, you know, we can't tell you to do anything. It's illegal, that is illegal, so, I mean, as law enforcement officer, you can't okay that.
Can't okay that on the approach part, even if it's an approach?
I'm taking care of this.
So would they do that on glass place too, they park on the approach? So what
Have you gotten a ticket there?
Never have. I'm just bringing it up because it doesn't matter if I park it, you know, don't park it up there or not. I do it more for public safety.
Well, it's a big van, it is hard to see around, so
Right, so that's why I'm bringing it up. It doesn't matter to me, I'm happy to park it where it's at. But I'm saying, we already had one vehicle hit, pushed all the way over Taco John's, and we're familiar with that. So I'm just asking for public safety, since there is an approach there, is that even possible? That's up to you guys, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. So.
Yeah, I can't say, I mean, I cannot give you approval to park illegally, I just can't.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm just
I
asking
think you
questions. so
understand
we know.
that. Yeah.
So, okay.
Is there any other public comment?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved by Russ, seconded by Bill to adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, that is.
I thought so, man, as a teacher, it's a challenge, these laws, rules they make are so vague.